Let's go ahead and start. It says function notation. Yesterday we learned about function notation. Today we're continuing with function notation, except it's going to be more of word problems. It says two area distributors, barking lot grooming and tidy paws, sell and deliver the same kind of shampoo for dogs and cats to the area. Could I wait? Area veterinary clinics. The function used by each distributor to calculate the cost to the clinics are given below. What is this equation for? It just said it in the last sentence. What is this equation for? It's a function used by each distributor to calculate cost. Yes, this is the equation they use to calculate cost. Now it says, if both dependent variables are written as y, it is hard to distinguish which equation represents which distributor. So pretty much, if they didn't give you a title here, and they only give you the equation, it would be hard to tell which one is for which. That's what they're saying. Also, highlight this word right here, dependent variable. It says y is a dependent variable. So you need to know that y is called the dependent variable. We'll get more into that later, what the independent and dependent variable represent or mean in a story. But in this case, the dependent variable is, well, actually always, the dependent variable is going to be y. Then that makes the x variable the independent variable. Okay? Very important. Write it down there, box it, because you're going to need it for your homework. You need to know what the independent variable is, and that's going to be x. All right. Next part. It says to keep track of several functions, it is sometimes necessary to distinguish them with a name. This is done by putting the function in function or f of x notation. What is the difference between this new equation and the last equation? Very good. Just the bx, right? It used to be y. Now it's bx. This one used to be y. Now it's px. If you want. Okay. So this is more like a label, so you can differentiate. For barking lots, they use bx, b for barking, right? For tidy paws, they use px, p for paws. So this is still the same equation we had before, but now it's just labeled, instead of y, it's labeled bx and px. Okay. Now before we go on, actually we can do it right here. On number 6, it's going to ask, what symbols are used to represent the dependent variable? What symbols are used to represent the dependent variable? Y. And what are the new symbols to use to represent the dependent variable? Bx. Right. It used to be y, now it's bx. It used to be y, now it's px. That's on number 6. They're not numbered very well, but number 6. Now, in your story, they're not only, in your homework, they're not only going to ask you what the symbols are, they're going to ask you what it represents in the story. Okay? So let's go ahead and do it ourselves. In the story, what does y represent and what does x represent? Think about it. No answer? Very good, Erica. So I told you not to answer, but okay. I was just going to give you time to think. But you're right. The y represents the cost. That means that bx also represents the cost, right? So y, again, represents cost. So bx represents cost. Now, that is what our y represents, or our dependent variable. What does our independent variable, or the x variable, represent in the scenario? How much what? Okay, remember, what is this equation calculating again? Cost. Cost of what, though? Okay, the cost to each distributor for, somebody said it? Shampoo. So it tells us right here, right? We're trying to figure out the cost for the shampoo. So then this is our y, or our dependent variable. This must be our x. How many shampoo bottles I buy will affect directly how much I pay, right? So the cost is the dependent variable, and it depends on how many shampoo bottles I buy. That's why this one's the dependent, or y, and this one's the independent, the x. Okay. So in case you have a hard time in the homework, please go back and look at this. X, y. Independent, dependent. Okay. All right. Well, we'll actually have an assignment just on that later. But just trying to remember which one depends on which. So cost depends on how much I buy, right? That makes sense. How much I pay at the store depends on how many shampoo bottles I buy. All right, number 5. What difference do you observe in the cost function written in f of x notation? So the equations are the same, but the y variable was replaced by bx and px, right? So everything was the same except the y, or the dependent variable, changed from y to bx and y to px. All right, 7. Write an ordered pair for each distributor using the appropriate symbols. So our ordered pairs usually look like this, right? We get the x variable and the y variable. Did our x variable change from one equation to the other? No, it's still 5x plus 3, so it's still an x, and it's still an x. So then our new variable for x is still x. That didn't change. The only thing that changed was what? The y. It changed to b of x, and then it changed from the second equation p of x. Okay, so this is how we write the ordered pair. So in your homework, it is going to ask you, what is your ordered pair? So you're going to write it like this for your homework. Oof, as I highlighted the wrong color. It's okay. So this is going to be the answer for your homework, okay? For the new function notation, the ordered pair, you're going to have x, and then the function notation, bx, px. Next part. Use the appropriate function notation to evaluate the cost for 6 bottles, 9 bottles, and 15 bottles. We said shampoo bottles were going to represent what? Well, we're being represented by what? I just heard it. X, right? So here we're going to replace this with x. This is what we did yesterday when we used our actual function. In this case, it's going to be b of x equals 5x plus 3. And then we're going to substitute in a 6, and then we're going to substitute in a 9, and then we're going to substitute a 15. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so it's going to be b of 6, right? Because that's how we write function notation. And then in place of x is where we're going to actually substitute the 6, right? Then we're going to do the same thing for b of 9. To find b of 9, we're going to substitute in place of x a 9. Use parentheses, please, guys. And then b of 15, we're going to substitute where x is in parentheses and put a 15. Now, yesterday I told you I definitely wanted to see the substitution, but if you wanted to use your calculator to do the math, you could. So it would be 5 parentheses 6 plus 3. And then we would do it again with a 9. And then we would do it again with a 15. I just go up and it highlights it, and then you hit enter and it copies it. Okay. And then I just go to the left and erase the previous number and put the new one. Okay. So our answer is 33, 48, 78. So then our function notation, right, it says to write in function notation, is b of 6 equals 33. Meaning when I buy 6 bottles with barking lot grooming, it's going to cost $33. Does that make sense? Right? Our output is the dependent variable, or the y. That's the cost. And then the x is our independent, which is our shampoo. So 6 shampoo bottles will cost 33. 9 shampoo bottles with barking lot grooming will cost 48. Well, actually, we don't need the money sign for function notation. Oops, darn it, I messed up on this one. B of 15 will cost 78, or equal 78. So this is our function notation. So this is what I'm going to be looking for in your homework. Then we have to do it again because it says for each distributor. Guys, please don't forget it's for each distributor, okay? B, no, it's not B anymore, right? Now we're doing tidy costs. So P of X, that one's 3x plus 21. And we're going to do the function with 6 bottles, with 9 bottles, and with 15 bottles. Say it again. 3 of x plus 22, it's right here. The equation. Yeah, we're doing one with tidy paws and one with barking lot grooming, says it says for each distributor. Okay, so in place of x, I put parentheses. That's where my number is going to be substituted in. We're going to substitute a 6, a 9, and a 15 for 6 bottles, 9 bottles, and 15 bottles. Then we do the math. If you want to use your calculator, you can. So then it would be 3 parentheses, parentheses 6 plus 21. Then we do it again with a 9. Then we do it again with a 15. Okay. So that's 39, 48, and 66. 39, 48, 66. But please write it in function notation. So P of 6, meaning 6 bottles with tidy paws, cost $39. 9 bottles with tidy paws cost 48. 15 bottles with tidy paws cost $66. That's my function notation. Well, depends who you go with, right? But if you buy 9 bottles, what happens? It's going to be the same, so it doesn't matter. So if you buy 9 bottles, Humphrey, it's going to be $48. It's going to be the same in each one, right? All right, number 9. Almost done, guys. The following function notation was given for barking lot grooming. B of 5 equals 28. What does the 5 represent? So remember what this represents and what this represents? So inside the 5 is going to represent what again? Shampoo bottles. So then what does the 28 represent? The cost. The cost of 5 shampoo bottles, right? Because they go together. Because it's B of 5 equals 28. So it must mean that if I buy 5 bottles, I'm going to pay 28 with barking lot groomings. So then on number 10, when they give me P of 10 equals 51, what does the 10 represent? Again, same thing, shampoo bottles. Shampoo bottles, how many bottles we're going to get, right? What does the 51 represent? Very good, the cost of 10 shampoo bottles, which would be $51, right? You can make it more specific if you want. I could have written, it costs $51 to purchase 10 shampoo bottles. Okay? All right, guys, the backside is your assignment. Please use your notes. It is actually very easy. Last period, almost everybody turned it in.